actually first tried to weaponize. And now Pete Buttigieg is going very strong in this notion that somehow universal single-payer healthcare, solving the problem of the healthcare crisis in a structural way, is somehow antithetical to rebuilding a bruised and beaten labor movement in this country. Explain to us why that's wrong, and then what would single-payer healthcare actually do for the union movement in the United States?
Yeah, the reality is that the reason establishment Democrats are attacking single-payer Medicare for all has nothing to do with them wanting to rebuild the labor movement, or nothing to do with their supposed desire to help union members keep their health benefits. These are the same politicians who are getting funded by the billionaires who are literally attacking unions, who are literally trying to roll back and prevent healthcare rights for the rest of the population. So there's a level of cynicism that I think we need to foreground from the beginning. It's not about a debate over the best way to provide health care for all. What it is about is trying to use a cynical ploy to try to fight against the one measure that could actually implement the health care we need for all citizens, all people in this country. And so what Medicare for all, single payer, would do for the labor movement, the first thing we should say is that it would not take away the healthcare plans and healthcare benefits of union members. This is the big bugaboo that keeps on going thrown out there, but it's just not true. Actually, what Medicare for all would do is not only expand the great wins that have been won by union members to the rest of the working class. For many union members, it would actually be a dramatic increase, because you're talking about dental, health, dental, vision, all sorts of added benefits that a lot of union members don't currently have. So it's not taking away your current doctor, it's not taking away your current plan. But the big reason why it's so important, I think, is, first of all, by taking healthcare off of the bargaining table, what that means is that you can have the union movement finally start fighting for the rest of the things that we don't have, because we've been fighting for so long just to maintain healthcare, which in every other country is guaranteed, as an industrialized country at least, is guaranteed as a right. So you have anyone who's ever been on a union bargaining team just knows that you spend half of your time trying to fight for to maintain or to get a little bit better healthcare benefits. And so from the second you don't have to do that because it's guaranteed, what that means is that you can fight for better working conditions. You can fight for better wages. You can fight so that your union resources aren't going towards just this rearguard defense of your current health benefit plans, but you can start organizing new workers, right? And I think that ultimately, if the labor movement is going to get beyond where we're at right now, which is at our lowest number of members in history, as far as percent of the working population, the only way you're going to build a strong labor movement is if the unions not only fight for their own members, but fight for the whole working class. And Medicare for all is the single best way that the labor movement can place itself as part of this broad political revolution at the head of it and say, look, unions are fighting for all working people, and the way we're going to prove that right now is we're going to win you all health care. For that 90% of workers who right now aren't covered in a union, don't have health care packages like some of us do, we are going to make sure that you join us, and that's how we're going to all move forward together.
And when unions do that, when unions go outside of, very, very sort of narrow sets of interest and relationships, which the enemies of working people have always been able to weaponize to smear and lie about the entire labor movement. But when labor unions don't make that mistake, and they don't go insular, and they don't just kind of build into small patronage networks, when they go out from that, as an example, the incredible courage of the Chicago Teachers Union going back, particularly in 2012, which I think is another one of these moments that we really need to recognize as the beginning of some type of actual fight back here politically, along with things like Occupy and so on, that when they do that, if they came out and said, our fight is for us and it's also for everybody, one, and I think I just want to underline it, strategically it's necessary for labor because you're taking the major threat off of the table from the boss, which is taking away your health care. And then secondly, you reinforce the rest of the country and the rest of the working class. Look, this is for all of us. This isn't like some sort of narrow club that looks out for itself. It's about the entirety of us, against the bosses.
Yeah, I mean, think about every single time there's a strike or every single time unions want anything. What is the line of the corporate media? What is the line of the boss? It's that these are greedy workers just fighting for themselves, right? And so everything we need to do to push back against that has to be foregrounding, particularly at this moment in U.S. history when our movement is so weak, foregrounding that we're fighting for all working people. And you can't do that if you pit your perceived interests against the rest of the working class. The irony here is that even for union members themselves, Medicare for All would be a big benefit, right? It's not like actually you have to make a sacrifice for yourself so that other workers can do better. An injury one is an injury at all. It's not just a slogan, but it has a material basis, which is to say that actually when the rest of the working class is better organized, has more rights, that is going to make you stronger too, because there's always a race to the bottom under capitalism. So the more that you can raise the bottom up, that means that there's less pressure on you to be able to give up, what you've won. And so we do have a dramatic moment, I think, a juncture for the labor movement right now. Bernie's movement shows that there's an appetite amongst a ton of people in this country for really dramatic change in course. And it's up to the union movement to decide whether it's going to be fully on board with that. I think one of the exciting things that has gotten lost in some of the recent, media-infused drama is that actually Bernie has more labor endorsements than every other candidate. Not only that, he has more union endorsements than all of the other candidates combined. I was making a list. I think it's at 25 union endorsements right now,
including some
of the most progressive.
Yeah. Sorry, just telling the. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and not only is his list of endorsers so high, but you have some of the most important, most militant unions in the country. You're talking about National Nurses Union. You're talking about United Teachers Los Angeles. You're talking about Unite Here locals all across California who represent hotel and service workers who are in a similar situation about fighting for their health care, but also expanding it. So I think it's really, these unions are showing what I hope the rest of the labor movement does, and it's not too late. If there's pressure from below and the movement continues to grow, I think you're going to see more and more unions continue to get on board the Bernie train.
29 unions for Sanders, 9 for Biden, 4 for Warren. That's exactly the point. All of the most militant and serious ones, obviously, for Sanders. Eric, final thought real quick. I believe, is it correct that you just arrived in Nevada?
Yeah, I got here last night. I'm
really
All right, excited.
Well, here's the classic cable news question. Like, how's it looking? How's it feeling?
Yeah, I think we're going to win Nevada. The big story of the Bernie campaign this year, and that we're already seeing on the ground, is that really the base of how we're going to win is working class people of color. And in Nevada, unlike Iowa and New Hampshire, you have a large number of those types of communities. So I'm really excited actually to see just how much organizing we're going to do and how much we're going to win by. It's not going to be easy. There's a lot of attacks. But if there's one place where I think it could happen, places like Nevada, California, this is really the bastion of what it's going to take to put Bernie into the White House.
Eric Blanc, as always, appreciate your time. Everybody go buy a copy of Red State Revolt, really important book about the grassroots uprisings and strikes across so-called Red State America, or maybe a precursor to Red State America. And he's also a national surrogate for the Bernie Sanders for President campaign. Eric, thanks a million.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Michael.
Take care. All right, folks.